It starts from a little raindrop onto the trees, down to the ground, down to the stream, down to the river, back down to the beach. And right where everything comes out, the salmon, the transfer of nutrients from the salmon to the bear, to the eagles, to the crows, the ravens, and into the forest. So when we talk clean water, we go back to creation time.
My earliest memories, I remember grandparents. Watch what I'm doing. There's going to be a time where it'll be your turn to do this.
It's up to him. It's all. I think it puts it that way, right? That side?
Is that the biggest one there?
No, there's another big one. There's still alive.
We had a group here. I told them when you work on food, you have to be happy.
The culture camp was started back in 1987. The main point was to start the dialogue, and we still have that dialogue today on suicide prevention. There was quite a turmoil in our little community and elsewhere. It was a blessing at the time that we had cooperation and guidance by our elders to start this culture camp. And I've seen these generations come through over the years, and you could tell the ones that took culture camp very seriously.
Short, like 1-inch cups. Here, let me show you. Hold your knife right here. Just let its own weight. And just go slow. There's no need to rush. Okay?
Makes me feel more connected to my culture and makes me feel connected to my food because it's like they died because of us, and then it's given us food to eat, cook, jar, even bury. They give their life to us so we can eat and not die of hunger.
We live off the land and also off the sea. Our salmon have always been traditional to our people. We've always gotten our food from the sea. So it's very important for our younger generation to always remember that the respect for the sea and for the land.
I eat fish a lot, at least 3 or 4 times a week, and I can't imagine not eating that much. I always grew up near the ocean. When the fish would come in, we all would have a job. Everyone would have something to do with putting up that fish, whether it was putting salt into the jars, or whether you're cutting the fish, or whether you're in charge of watching the pressure cooker or the smokehouse. Everyone had an important job, and when the fish came in, everyone got busy. We were taught from a very young age, and a lot of kids these days don't know where their food comes from. So I think it's important that they learn that it doesn't come from a grocery store, and and that you can grow it, and that you can go out and harvest it, and do it to make your life better. The community harvest is very important. This is our 2nd year doing it. It's been a lot of fun. We've got a lot of participation. People are learning.
Okay. Can you feel the bone? Now you can feel it, huh? Here, I'm going to help you a little bit, okay? There you go. Now cut here. Wash your hands.
I get real happy when I work on food. It makes me happy when fish comes in, but I like to do it more with other people. It's more fun if other people are working with you on the fish. It's not so hard on one person, and it's a community social event. It is very special when you go to other places in the lower 48, in the big cities. You don't see this water, and it's always been there. It's always been clean. We just take it for granted because it's here and it's wonderful. We have to protect it. The land, the water, it's all related to our culture.
It's so important to have your local foods to keep you feeling good about yourself and to remember how much you love your environment. You're tasting how beautiful that ocean is. We grew up going to the beach. I was probably 4 or 5 when I remember going down and getting clams. But as I got older, I was just noticing that there's all these seaweeds out there, so I started learning about them and realizing that they are very nutritional. There's just no fat. There's very little carbohydrates. They're just vitamins and minerals. You're just eating vitamins and minerals when you eat seaweed, and they're so incredibly healthy that they should be eaten every day by everyone. The ocean, that beach line, is so full of life and energy that it's really important to harvest from it, but it's also important to make sure that it's healthy. I just try and be a good person in a coastal environment where I'm taking care of it as I enjoy it.
I'm Emily Chappell. I live in Ketchikan, Alaska. You know, I would say nearly 75% of our evening meals come from the sea or the land in Southeast Alaska. Nate's 10 years old. He was born and raised here in Ketchikan. He's been fishing since the day he could catch a fish. His first word was actually fish. It was not mom or dad or anything like that. It was fish. We live in a fishing community, you know, so there's always people giving you tips or teaching you how, and so I think he's really just been immersed in it, just from birth. Seeing him catch fish, there's a lot of pride there. Part of it is his skill and his ability, but you see the traditions being passed on. You see the knowledge coming through him, the things that he has learned from other people, the things that he has learned from his family. And two, it makes him connected to the land. You know, he knows where his food is coming from. He can see the process and he can see the work that goes into it. And I think it really makes him appreciate it that much more. There's Nate catching fish. He just loves to catch fish. You can see him like fighting it up to the shore. That's when they were starting to run. Yeah. We lived the life, I know. It's pretty special. It's pretty special. Every creature, whether it's bears or deer or even the fish themselves, we're all connected to the water. Everything comes down to salt water and we all depend on it. It's part of our lifestyle and really our culture. You know, it's what we know. We make art about fish and we eat fish and our industries are based upon fish and the sea. If those things went away, our identity would go away. And I just have a hard time imagining life without those things. And so when I think about my son and his future, I don't know what it looks like if it wasn't without fish. You know, I want him to be able to experience some of these things, same things, some of these traditions, some of these parts of our culture as a community and as a family. And clean water is directly tied to that, having access to the pristine oceans that we do. My hope is that it is the same for him, that he can still experience the wonderful things that we get to experience, the summer boating outings and the victory of catching that big fish. And I want him to be able to pass that on to his kids too. We live in a really special and beautiful place. We live in a very pristine and wild place, and that is rare and that is different than most places. And so as citizens of these communities, we've really got to keep that in mind, that we have a treasure and we need to protect it. I think just opening our eyes and saying, wow, every day, like, look at this place, look at where we live, look at where we get to play, look at where we get to work. It's pretty darn special.
I live in the best community, probably in the world, in Sitka, Alaska. It's a community of 8,500 people right in the Tungus National Forest, right on the ocean. I choose to live here because it's a beautiful environment and it's clean. I love wild places, I love places that still have their health.
My name is Dylan Hitchcock Lopez, and I grew up here in Sitka, Alaska. And I went on my first fishing trip 21 years ago, and I fished off and on since then. When you buy Alaskan seafood, our salmon, by and large, comes from small individuals and families who fish, and that's how they support themselves. And that's really uncommon, I think, and that you can, you can still buy fish from Alaska that was caught by families, where there was several generations working together on a boat. And so that's pretty amazing about Alaskan seafood, Alaskan salmon in particular.
These salmon that we're harvesting as food The most important thing is that they are Alaska wild salmon that are the highest quality, one of the purest, healthiest foods on earth. What a great food that is for us, and how the way our bodies are made up, we are sustained by these creatures. It's part of the circle of life for us.
There are very few healthy, vibrant wild fisheries left in the world. 98% of all the seafood consumed in America comes from other countries. Those fish, I don't think, really can compare because they haven't had the life that an Alaskan salmon has. They don't have the sort of the diversity of food sources. They don't get to traverse long distances and all of these things that our fish do. And so when you consume that, you're eating something that grew up in a very healthy ecosystem. So everything is really dependent on the quality of our oceans, on what's going into them, and what we can take out of them. And I know as a person who works in selling Alaskan salmon, I have to sort of be accountable to customers. And I know that if they change, if the quality of our seafood is compromised because of that, those customers will go away and the industry will vanish. So it's all about the water.
If we don't stay completely committed to that long-term health, we'll lose that.
My name is Guy Archibald. I'm the Inside Passage Waterkeeper. I work through Inside Passage Waterkeeper with the Southeast Alaska Conservation Council. I'm an ex-environmental chemist and microbiologist by education, and my passion is protecting these places that we call home. The state of Alaska has the responsibility and mandate under the Clean Water Act to ensure that the integrity of these waters are protected for the current population and for all future Alaskans. And that means limiting the amount of pollution that goes into these waters. Water quality criteria are the maximum limits the state has set to keep water safe for the various uses. So the water quality criteria are determined through a rather complicated formula. Two of the biggest factors in this formula are the estimated consumption of fish, because eating fish and drinking the water is the primary mode of exposure to contaminants to people. One of the other factors that goes into the water quality criteria is the acceptable rate of cancer due to these contaminants, and that is just a policy that's set by our politicians. Fish consumption value currently in the state of Alaska is 6.5 grams per day per person, about a size of a piece of fish that would fit on a quarter. The national average was just increased by EPA to 22 grams per day per person, the estimated average. So currently Alaska's fish consumption value is about 1/3 of what would be considered the minimum national average.
I've never heard that. I don't think, I know in Cape we eat a lot of fish.
Yes, I've heard that, but it's a very underestimated number.
I guess I can't speak for all Alaskans, but for my life, that's a little bit nonsense.
It's a very low estimate, and it's pretty ridiculous, actually.
In southeast here, some of our villages derive 80% of their calories from foods that they collect in the water, in the woods, in the streams, whether it's eating seaweed, dried seaweed, or crab and shellfish, or finfish, or marine mammals. The state needs to collect real data on fish consumption rates specific to Alaskan consumers. So it's incredibly important that the state gets accurate data on the fish consumption rates for the average Alaskan. It's also important that the state of Alaska policymakers take another look at what they call the acceptable rate of cancer due to these contaminants. Right now, the acceptable rate of cancer is 1 cancer incident out of 100,000 people. That's 10 times what most states set it at. It's just imperative that we protect it now, because once it's lost, it'll be lost forever.
We can't be just fishermen and survive. We have to be stewards of our resource because nobody else cares about them as much as we do.
You know, we've benefited from clean waters and functioning ecosystems because they're still clean, and there's a lot of people doing really significant work trying to keep them that way. And we need to carry those efforts on to the future and have our youth accept that challenge.
Because we can't do this alone. Just as we're intrinsically connected to the land, we're also intrinsically connected to each other. And the only way that we can be successful in preserving our pristine waters and preserving the lifestyle that we live is by working together.
We've lived among this place forever. Our view is that we live as part of this land, nothing else. And that we're not bigger or greater than anything else around us.
You know, this is Mother Nature's been good to us. We need to treat her with respect too. You take care of the sea will take care of you. The water will take care of you.